At this point, I had started working. I was a writer for Fox Sports, which is the dream job. I was 25 years old, working in sports television, getting to write off my cable. How cool is that? So no, I need the Sports Illustrated for my job, and life was great, and things were wonderful. I had the heart condition, but I was being treated medically for that. For me, it was a minor thing. I didn't have cancer anymore, so I had a little bit of a weak heart. Not a big deal. I was, loving life. Things were going great, and I started having nosebleeds. Started having these giant bruises on my body, and the kind of bruises that you remember getting, and I had no idea where they were coming from. So I went to see my hematologist. He did a quick blood test, and brought me into his little office there afterwards, and sat me down and told me that I had developed an acute secondary leukemia caused by chemotherapy from earlier drugs. And it was July 23rd, 1997. I can take myself back to that day as if it was yesterday. It was a shot to the solar plex. If you've ever had the wind knocked out of you, that's exactly how I felt at that moment. I knew he had just told me that I was dead. At this point, I'm an 8-year veteran of this fight against cancer. I know the score. Leukemia is bad. Leukemia that's caused by chemotherapy is worse. Plus, I had this weak heart, so I knew they couldn't be that aggressive in how they treated me. And when he told me that I had leukemia on that day, he told me that I was going to die. No, he didn't say those words, but he didn't have to. I knew that he had just signed my death sentence. And I remember that day sitting there, and I was pretty low on blood counts, and so as I'm sitting there right after diagnosis, and they've got me in like this little ambulatory room where I'm getting blood and platelets, and I spent about 3 hours there waiting for some of my family to arrive. I'd called my dad. He was the closest geographically to where I was, and waiting for people to come, and I just was sobbing, and I couldn't get over the life that I was about to lose, and I knew it was. I was in mourning for all the things I would never get to do, and I wasn't quite 26 years old yet, and I just couldn't fathom that things were happening so fast. This had come on quickly, and so I knew that I had probably no more than a few months left. Maybe with treatments they could delay that, and so this was July, and I was laying there doing the math in my head, and I'd kind of come up with a deal to make with God, where if God would just get me to Christmas and get me through the holidays, so I didn't die right before the holidays and ruin them for everybody. If I could get through one more Christmas season, then whatever happened after that was fine. That I could live with him taking me July or January 2nd on. But if he just got me through the holidays, then he and I were going to be cool. And it was a really weird thing to just accept your death. Now I see a couple people who are nervous. I made it to Christmas. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead because there were a couple people who were struggling. I did make it to Christmas. Like I said, I had the heart condition, so they couldn't treat me normally. They couldn't use adriamycin. They couldn't use the chemotherapy drug that caused the leukemia, so my doctors had to kind of go and sit in a little room and figure out exactly what they were going to do for me. And I've always joked with him that he's basically just a bartender trying to figure out, a little cocktail that works. Luckily for me, they found a cocktail that worked. Now, it was 3 long years of chemo. I began in July of 1997, and I took my last chemotherapy treatment in July of 2000. It was a long 3 years, but I did make it to Christmas. I've made it to quite a few Christmases since then. And I survived my 4th bout with cancer, and I am here now going on 13 years later, and still very much alive and still very much cancer-free, and I couldn't be more thrilled.